What's going on, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here. Welcome to day 272 of the 365-day graphic novel review challenge. Today, I want to talk to you about Intergalactic Nemesis, Target Earth. This is by Jason Newlander and Tim Doyle. This is a 7-issue miniseries that features a group of characters who join forces to stop the Zygonian invasion of Earth in the late 1930s. I would describe this as kind of a next-generation Flash Gordon or Buck Rogers, except that it doesn't actually follow in the footsteps of those stories in that there is no square-jawed action hero with his shirt torn off who's punching aliens and robots in the face like you would have with Flash Gordon or Buck Rogers. Your characters here are, I feel like, a little bit more fleshed out. They're not following in the archetypes of those stories that came before. It's trying a little harder to make these characters a little bit more fleshed out and a little bit more real as characters. It doesn't always succeed. Sometimes a character feels more like an archetype than they do a character, but I think that it's very noble that they were able to take these characters and make them feel real for the most part. There's really only one or two characters here that I feel like don't fully come across as being fleshed out. But I really like most of the characters in this book, and even the ones that feel more like archetypes than actual fleshed out characters. I don't dislike them. I just don't think that they come alive as much as some of the other characters do. But this is a book that has quite a few good twists and turns along the way. There's at least two twists that I think they're not easy to see coming. Whenever they do come along, they surprise you, but at the same time, it's not just throwing something in there just to surprise the audience. When you go back and look earlier in the book, you can say, oh, okay, I saw where they were seeding this earlier, and I just didn't realize that that was what they were leading up to. There's at least two moments where there's kind of a whoa moment for two specific characters, and it seeds those whoa moments earlier in the story, but it's not too obvious in the way that it plants those seeds. I like the way that it does that too. This is also part of a longer running series. I have the second volume, I don't have the third volume, but this doesn't end on a cliffhanger. Personally, I don't even think that it really ends in a way where you're thinking, okay, what happens next? This feels like its own complete story. It doesn't leave anything hanging where it says, okay, we'll take care of all that in the next volume. We have to leave something for us to deal with in the second volume. So this is a story that does have a sequel, but it doesn't feel like it needs a sequel to handle any of these dangling plot threads. I think it does a really good job tying everything up and being its own complete story that you can read without having to read the next volume to understand what does this mean right here. I think it does a really good job of doing that, but it still makes me interested in seeing what happens next since I know that there is a couple of sequels. So overall, if you are a fan of those lowbrow space operas like Flash Gordon or Buck Rogers, then I would recommend that you read Intergalactic Nemesis. I think this is a very good book. I enjoyed it quite a bit. The one thing that I could complain about, I feel like Tim Doyle's art is very, I don't want to say bad, because I honestly don't think it's bad, but I feel like Doyle is very new at this. There are times when I look at the composition of a panel, or I look at some of the rendering that he does, and I feel like with practice he can become really good, but at this point he's still very new at this. There's one page in particular I'm thinking of where a character punches another character, and it takes 3 panels for him to punch this character because it almost feels like Tim Doyle took photographs of somebody as they were about to punch someone, and then he drew 3 different steps of that character punching another character. And I was thinking, you know, you could make this a little bit more dynamic. You could have it be one panel and he's just in the final stage of punching that character instead of showing us 3 steps of him punching that character. There are things like that where it's not bad, but I can tell that he's still very new at this and he hasn't been doing this for long. He doesn't have a whole lot of experience doing this. And with time, I think that he could become a very good artist. I've said that before about other artists, and then I look at some of their work that comes much later and I say, wow, they did really come a long way. So that's not to say that Tim Doyle is a bad artist, because I really don't think that he is. There's a lot of this that I think is really good, but I do think that he's a little inexperienced, and with time he could become a lot better. So those are my thoughts on Intergalactic Nemesis Book 1, Target Earth. I hope that you guys liked this review, and if you did, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I will be back tomorrow with a different video. In the meantime, you guys have a great rest of the day. Catch you later.